Jeff Okudah has been traded, which, most people say big deal.
He heads to the Falcons. Detroit sending him to Atlanta. Does have a 5th-year option in 2024. Hard to imagine the Falcons are going to pick that up.
The NFL is so unpredictable, and there's some unfortunate realities that go into being a player in the NFL, and I think there's no better example than the story that we're about to tell you guys here today. So before we get to the content, I've waited way too freaking long for this Aaron Rodgers giveaway. I'm very embarrassed about it, so I'm just going to be announcing giveaway winners this Friday to any of my Twitter followers that retweet this brand new tweet and turn on my notifications on Twitter for Mikerophone. I apologize. I felt like this was one of those things where Aaron Rodgers was going to get traded immediately, and I was wrong, and it really got to an embarrassing point. It's been almost a month since I announced the giveaway, so we're going to keep the old one going, but in the meantime, here's a brand new giveaway to thank you guys for all of your remarkable support. Now that we get all that out of the way, break! Some of the green slips you guys have been sending me is crazy, like $1,250 off of a $250 slip, or $1,500 off of a $150 power play. We've been making bank off of our basketball picks, bro. March Madness was a huge success, and believe me, we're about to ramp it up for the NBA playoffs. All you have to do is download Prize Picks, use my promo code Mikerophone, and they'll match your first deposit up to $100 instantly. After that, just follow me on Instagram. I post all of my picks onto my Instagram story for free, and we can start making money off of these picks together. Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? The 2020 NFL Draft is looking more and more like one of the most complicated yet controversial NFL drafts that we've ever seen. I mean, this draft really had it all. It already has a quarterback that made it to the AFC Championship in back-to-back years. In his second year, he was able to make it into the Super Bowl in the number one overall pick, Joe Burrow. Ironically, Joe Burrow sustained a significant injury in his rookie season by tearing his ACL and MCL in his left knee 10 games into his rookie year. What's interesting about this is the second overall pick in the NFL draft, Chase Young, is without a doubt a huge stud in the NFL, but he himself has had injury issues as well, tearing his ACL in 2021 and not really being able to return to action till the end of the season last year. And even at that, he only played in 3 games. Why am I mentioning this? Well, it seems like injury was an unfortunate trend in this particular draft. I mean, a few picks later, you had Tua Tagovailoa at the number 5 overall pick, and this past season, we've covered extensively the amount of concussions he sustained in a very mixed year for him, because on one hand, he sustained a lot of injuries, but on the other hand, he had a breakout season. And that's before we get to the other interesting aspects of this NFL draft. For example, Damon Arnett and Henry Ruggs were selected in this NFL draft. Both of them no longer play for the Raiders. And that's before we talk about the successes in this draft. Players like Justin Herbert, CeeDee Lamb, Justin Jefferson, Jonathan Taylor, Trevon Diggs, Jalen Hurts. But lost amongst all these players is the number 3 overall pick, Jeff Okudah. And he's had a very bumpy road in the NFL so far. You see, Jeff Okudah was without a doubt the best cornerback prospect in the entire 2020 NFL draft. It was Jeff Okudah and then CJ Henderson. Both of these players haven't had the career that they were hoping for in the NFL so far. CJ Henderson recently got traded, and we covered that about a year ago. But in the case of Jeff Okudah, it seemed like he had tremendous potential to start out his NFL career. As a matter of fact, after being selected number 3 overall by the Detroit Lions, he was able to sign a $33.52 million contract, which is remarkable. He got a $22 million signing bonus. So personally, that's awesome for him. And to open up his season immediately, we had some problems. Jeff Okudah suffered a hamstring injury during training camp. He would miss his opening season game, but he would return in week 2 and he would face off against the Green Bay Packers. And he definitely had his welcome to the NFL moment in that game, because he allowed it 6 completions for 96 yards. But in week 3, he was able to get his first career interception off of Kyler Murray. Okudah was able to play in 9 games for the Detroit Lions in the 2020 season. And to be honest, it wasn't necessarily the greatest season. Like, there were a lot of instances where he got burnt as a defensive back, but you also have to understand that this Detroit Lions team in 2020 didn't necessarily place Jeff Okudah in the best position to succeed. It's not like they had a ferocious pass rush. They were very thin on defense, and Jeff Okudah did show some promise in the run game at the very minimum. If you want to talk about his Pro Football Focus 2020 player grades, he had a 42.5 overall grade, an 86.2 run defense grade, a 56.2 pass rush grade, and a 30.9 coverage grade. Definitely not what you wanted to see from the number 3 overall pick in the NFL draft, but what makes things a little bit more unfortunate was in his rookie year, he would undergo surgery to resolve a core muscle injury, and after 9 games, he was shut down, which was pretty intelligent considering that the Lions invested a lot in Jeff Okudah, who was the number 3 overall pick. Well, things would get even more unfortunate in 2021. The Detroit Lions underwent a huge overhaul that season. I mean, this was the offseason where they acquired a significant amount of picks, traded for Jared Goff, gave up Matthew Stafford, so they were clearly headed towards a rebuild. They also brought in Dan Campbell, so things were changing in Detroit, and there's no doubt in our mind that Jeff Okudah was going to be a huge part of that. Well, the worst case scenario happened to Okudah in the season opener against the San Francisco 49ers. He would rupture his Achilles tendon, which is the biggest nightmare for any player in the NFL, especially if you're depending on your athleticism and speed, especially if you're a player that ran a 4.48 40-yard dash and are depending on that Achilles tendon for your burst. Now, coming back this past year, he wasn't necessarily the worst player, but he definitely didn't play like a number 3 overall pick. He still showed tremendous strides in the run game. I mean, Pro Football Focus graded him at a 74 run defense, so it was definitely his strong suit, but his coverage grade was a 54.4, and although he was able to come down with an interception, he had a 97 passer rating allowed. Last night, CBS Sports reported that a player that the Detroit Lions could potentially move on from is Jeff Okudah, because in the offseason, Detroit signed Emmanuel Mosley and Cam Sutton, and also the Lions do have an additional first-round pick in this year's NFL draft. So for all you know, they could draft Christian Gonzalez with the 6th overall pick, or maybe they draft Joey Porter Jr. with the 18th overall pick, or Deonte Banks maybe. We don't really know, and I do owe you guys a mock draft, which is going to be coming to you guys within the next week. But at this point, it seems obvious that Jeff Okudah just doesn't fit with the Detroit Lions in their plans. And unfortunately, in my mind, he does have the label of a draft bust, but it's the worst type of draft bust. It's a draft bust that you really just didn't have any control over. I mean, he sustained a freak injury that sapped him of his potential. At least he was able to make millions of dollars. And don't get me wrong, he could still have a great career in the NFL. And to be honest, I am rooting for him. But it seems like the Detroit Lions officially decided to cut their losses, because we found out today that the Atlanta Falcons are trading for Jeff Okudah. So this is coming to us from Kevin Connor, which is his agent. The two general managers made this trade very seamlessly. I mean, the negotiations were described as amicable and productive throughout, as this deal represents a win-win for both sides. Jeff Okudah gets a fresh start in Atlanta, which of course he desperately needs at this point for sure. You might be wondering what the compensation is going to look like. Well, the Atlanta Falcons are trading a 2023 5th-round pick to the Lions for Jeff Okudah. Maybe this is what he needs. I mean, I personally feel really bad whenever a athlete tears his Achilles tendon. I mean, to give you an idea, Aaron Glenn, the defensive coordinator of the Detroit Lions, said this about Okudah. He is a young player. He still has a ways to go. He came in and got hurt his first year, and obviously he got hurt his second year. He had a chance to really play this year, and he understands there's always going to be competition, and we're always going to create that competition. And then it also mentions how the Lions brought in Emmanuel Mosley, Cameron Sutton, and added Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, and re-signed defensive back Will Harris. So there is a lot of competition there, but who knows? Maybe this is the ideal situation for Okudah. I mean, he's going to be joining players like Jesse Bates III, who is a stud, who is one of the best safeties in the league. He also has AJ Terrell and a veteran Casey Hayward on the roster. It doesn't necessarily seem like he's going to be handed the top corner position, but it definitely seems like a much better situation for him on a rebuilding Atlanta Falcons team. And Atlanta does have until May 1st to decide whether or not it wants to pick up Jeff Okudah's 5th-year option. I don't think they're going to do that, to be honest. But at the very minimum, props to the Detroit Lions for moving on from Jeff Okudah and giving him a chance on another roster. I'm rooting for the man. I mean, I really hope it works out for him. And if not, at least he's made like $30 million so far in his career. That's probably more money than I'm I'm ever going to see. So obviously not the career he was hoping for, not what we were all hoping for Jeff Okudah, but hopefully he turns it around. This is a great situation for him, and it's a good trade for both sides. So let me know in the comment section down below what you guys think about all this trade. I give both sides an A for working out this trade. I mean, it's not ideal for the Lions to be in this situation, but what else could you really do? Sometimes you get placed in unfortunate situations, and to be honest, I don't necessarily think they made a mistake drafting Okudah at the number 3 pick. I mean, there's no way they could have known that this was going to happen. Let me know in the comment section down below what you guys think about all this. Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.